to be responsible about who's putting money in and taking money out. So again, early days of any technology, this stuff might seem a little scary, but there are pretty good guardrails in place already, and I think this is going to be one of these things where over time it actually becomes a more powerful medium than it is scary.
And there are a lot of people here in the audience who are pretty new to Bitcoins in general, or Coinbase in particular. What's the best way for them to learn more?
I think the highest thing I would recommend is just try to use it. I think learning by doing is usually the best thing. So if you have a friend who has some, have them send you a fraction of a Bitcoin, try to go spend it. You can go spend it at a bunch of online retailers right now. So
tick off some of the major ones that are now taking Bitcoin.
Yeah, so Overstock.com was the first major one to accept it through us. Expedia, if you want to go plan a trip, you can go spend it there. Dell.com accepts it. Microsoft, it's really kind of mounting. The rough timeline on this is in 2013, there were 0 really large merchants who were accepting Bitcoin, and fast forward to today, and there's somewhere around 15 businesses that are more than $1 billion in annual revenue who are. So it's spreading quickly, so I'd advise go try it out. And I'm admittedly a little bit biased on this one because he's one of our investors, but Mark Andreessen wrote a great piece in the New York Times called Why Bitcoin Matters, which I think is probably the single best condensed piece on why Bitcoin is going to be an important trend.
If we have time for questions, that's where you can start finding out right now. So, who's got a question for us?
It's got to be somebody.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
From an economic perspective, I say forget the delta. If I'm just looking at volatility of Bitcoin, how can we expect this to be an important part of a currency if it has a volatility well above any other major currency in the world? And how do we build institutions that can accomplish that can accommodate that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I would say a couple of things. One, we're in really early days in Bitcoin where speculation really outweighs a lot of practical use at the moment, and we think that will change as time goes on. So that, by definition, kind of reduces volatility. The other thing I would say is that if you just look at foreign exchange markets, you have similar problems, admittedly smaller, with volatility. And what's happened over time is, as markets have gotten more mature, you've had things like derivatives built on top of the currency, which allow you to hedge out risk exposure. So I would say in 3 to 4 years, we could reasonably get to an endpoint where businesses offer a solution where Bitcoin is simply a more efficient transactional rail, and the actual foreign exchange risk is hedged out for you as a service.
So as use of Bitcoins grows, the speculation will become a lesser part of it, and the currency will stabilize. I don't think it fluctuates now as much as it did 2 years ago, and I would expect that trend would continue on in the future. Tell us, the folks, a little bit more about Coinbase in terms of the number of customers you have or the number of merchants that you deal with, to give them a perspective on how this has grown already.
Sure. I mentioned